Welcome back. It's nice to see you again. I keep count as much for myself as anybody else. It is the morning of April the 8th. This is episode
Correct.
12 of Keys and Grey.
Correct.
Unplugged. Apologies that we're joined this morning by construction workers beneath the balcony, but they are proving that their job is essential, and that's why they're out there. As far as I'm concerned, for 30 minutes, they are non-essential. But
Yeah.
there we are.
Yeah. A little bit of background atmosphere.
To be serious, we reiterate the same message every day. Please stay at a distance. We are, no Qatari COVID-19 sanctions have been compromised in the makings of these programmes, and at the moment, all's well with the same 4 people that meet here at a distance every day. Newspapers, Andrew.
Yes.
English newspapers by and large, but I've spread the net. I'm now picking up stories from elsewhere.
Excellent, good lad.
West Ham United announced a £30 million rights issue to raise money as a result of loss of revenue. Financial stories there are plenty of right now.
So who are they getting that from?
That will go onto the open market, and they're hoping that West Ham fans...
What are they selling?
They're selling shares in West Ham United.
Right, okay.
And they are hoping that
Raise 30 mil.
West Ham fans once again will make up the shortfall in this period of difficulty for the game, Andrew. An economic crisis beyond our wildest imagination. This is the FA chairman, Greg Clark. He says that clubs and leagues will collapse and the season could end unfinished.
Yeah, I agree with Greg. I think that's the case. And if we're talking EFL, which is Greg is, he's talking about 71 clubs in the EFL plus the national leagues that are below that. I said to you 3 weeks ago, Richard, that I felt that when we come out of this, we won't have 71 full-time English Football League clubs. And each day that goes by, I'm more and more convinced that we won't.
I am continually, and have been since we started recording these programmes, Andy, bemused, confused and staggered to discover the mess that football actually is in.
Yeah.
Not so much lower down the pyramid, we mentioned that I think on day one, but those clubs at the top who have had nothing but a flow of multi-millions in revenue from television for the last 20 odd years, 25 years.
Yes, easy.
That 2 or 3 are teetering on the brink at
Well,
this
how
stage.
come-
I find
Did
that
I read somewhere? You correct
continually
me if I'm, you correct me if I'm
staggering.
wrong. Is this a for instance of what kind of state they're in? I read somewhere this week, Liverpool. I think it was Liverpool. Made a profit last year.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Of some £42 million.
Correct. Excuse me.
Now, their wage bill, a month, I think it's a month,
Go on.
22 million. Therefore, what they were saying was, it's only going to take 2 months of inactivity for Liverpool to drop into the red.
So how did we let that happen?
That is staggering.
In any other walk of life, in any other business,
Staggering.
people would be fired for that kind of mismanagement. But they would. Daniel Levy here considers putting club ground staff to work on his private estate during the ongoing crisis.
Good lad. See, Daniel, smart.
It's selfless, isn't it?
It's, you know, that's what you call taking one for the boys. Honestly, well done, Daniel. Top class, mate.
From Holland, the Dutch FA ignore calls from PSV, Ajax and AZ Alkmaar to end the season early and plan to resume the Eredivisie on June the 19th without fans. Training could start mid-May. Without fans, I flag this up now. That's not going to work. We'll come back to it. But it's not going to work playing football and expecting that people won't gather somewhere near the stadium, if not outside. Paris had that problem before we stopped playing. I just don't see that.
How can you pick a date anyway? How can you pick a date
Well,
right
they
now?
shouldn't be picking a date. And here's somebody else for whom my admiration grows almost by the hour.
Are you being a bit sarcastic?
Speak with some irony. A selfless act by the West Ham chief exec, Karren Brady, who reveals that she's leading by example and taking a 30% pay cut to her salary.
Which is? Do we know?
£898,000 a year without bonuses.
Okay. So she's dropping to 600,000. Okay.
From Spain, La Liga boss Javier Tebas reveals 3 possible start dates for football to return in Spain and warns that abandoning the season would mean losses of 880 million. I just refer, you've just mentioned it, I just refer back to where we were about 5 or 6 programmes back. Why keep setting these dates?
No.
raising expectation, letting people down, let's just
deal with it first. Deal with it first.
This is where we are at the moment,
Yeah.
and at some point we'll come out the other side, and then we can get going.
Yeah.
We're all desperate to do that. Premier League chief Richard Masters reveals that clubs could lose $1 billion during the coronavirus shutdown and defends them taking taxpayers' money. I don't at all.
No.
I don't think the scheme was designed for football clubs.
It wasn't. It was designed for
to
small
furlough
businesses.
staff.
Yeah.
And this is where I think the problem is between the clubs, the players, and administrators higher up. The players are saying, "Okay, we'll forfeit money if it's going to be to the benefit of staff around the club,
Correct.
as long as the club isn't hiding the commitment they have to them,
Yes.
or pretending that it isn't something that they can afford." I mean, you know, this is going to rumble on, Andy. Because
we'll rumble on. Richard, and I think, do you know what I find the last couple of days where I think maybe a lot of people have problems with? It's how it's described. There are three kind of areas here. There's talk about cuts. Now that's pure and simple. That's a cut in your salary, top end, yeah? If I'm earning 100,000 and I'm getting 30% of it's gone, I'm only earning 70. That's a cut of your salary. There's deferrals, a word I hear a lot in the last couple of weeks, which means that the players don't take the salary for 2 months.
yes,
But they don't lose it, because when we come back in to play football again, the players will be reimbursed salary lost.
at Leeds they will be reimbursed with a small thank you.
2% thank you. There's that one. And then there's the other one that I think players want to get around. And that's the one where there are no cuts. Players receive the salary, which is taxed at source, which the government take and use it, hopefully, right now, for the NHS. Then the players can make their own contributions from their own salaries as to what they want to do with their money.
Agreed.
That's the three options for me.
This an exclusive from Mike Keegan in the Mail. FIFA have approved plans aimed at rescuing the football season, which is set to see a player contract extended and transfer windows put back. Now, two problems I immediately see with this is, one, if my contract's running out, and I've said this the other day, and I'm due a move on June 30, agreed in January, as would have been the case, I'm not looking to see my contract extended with my current employer. I'm just not, Andy.
What if FIFA say, well, the June 30th is not the cut-off? It's not. It's been extended.
I think that's what they're trying to do.
It's being extended
I think
to
that leaves them
July
open,
the 31st.
I think that leaves them open to a challenge. And secondly, are we saying that we can alter the circumstances in which the league was being played by players being transferred between now and when we start, or when we start and when ultimately we finish? I think we are.
We can't see Jack Grealish leave Villa at time of need to go somewhere else and Villa go down.
At time of need?
Well, if they come back to play and Villa need him and they're bottom of the league and they lose him because he's been transferred, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that I think no, I'm not so much losing him. I'm saying Manchester United taking him in those circumstances in their push for European places. Oh, that can't be right.
No, it can't be, because Villa will have lost their best player.
Exactly. Martin Samuel here. Now, this one bemused me. I read this 2 or 3 times. It's actually quite confusing. EFL clubs, he says, are considering the nuclear option. That is, of going into group administration. All of them.
All 71 at the same time.
No, just the championship clubs.
Oh, really? I thought I was talking about everyone.
Just the championship clubs. And then the current owners buying back out of administration. Be aware that, of course, there are currently disciplinary reasons why clubs try not to, points deduction, but I suppose you
if you all get
that
deducted,
because you're all agreeing. I just don't see that.
So let me tell you. So what they're saying, are they? And this is again time of need. Are they saying that when they go into administration, if they went into administration together, en bloc, on the same day, midday tomorrow, all 22?
Yes.
22
24
clubs.
there is,
24 clubs go into administration, voluntary administration. What happens to the creditors?
Well, the creditors would probably, as was the case many years ago when Leicester City did this, and that's why there were then subsequently rules brought into place to stop it. Leicester went into administration, kept paying the players, and everybody else around about that were owed for the new stadium, carpets, knives, forks, desks.
Didn't get paid.
Didn't get paid.
Now, surely that wouldn't happen now.
Well, you see, the other problem here is that if you're looking into the Championship right now, not often happens, but it might. Premier League clubs look, right, midnight, on that occasion when they go into, we're having him for nothing.
For nothing.
It's a thought, isn't it?
Well, yes, as we've said frequently in this show in the last two or 3 weeks, football as we know it will not be the same when we come out of this.
German clubs are back training. We mentioned that earlier in the week. They're aiming to play again with only 239 people, and they're specific about the number. 239 people at each game.
Okay.
And those people would be made of, let's be here specific about this, players, obviously, and officials, 8 coaching, medical and technical staff per team, 4 ball boys, 12 instead of the usual 12, and TV crews will be limited to 36. 30 journalists covering the match will be amongst the rest of the 239 allowed in.
Journalists?
Well, you don't really, but I suppose.
Well, you don't, Richard. Journalists.
Well, Andy, the whole thing for me is a nonsense.
If it's on television, why do you need a journalist there reporting on it? Sit in his home and watch it and report.
And what about everybody gathering outside or in the local pubs and the clubs? And this is interesting. Juan Mata is convinced that it's only a matter of time before the Premier League are playing matches abroad. This is something we've discussed since Richard Scudamore's idea of a 39th game, which I liked, and I thought he was right about at the time and said so. Still do. Every other sport, he did warn that every other sport would be doing it, and the Premier League would get left behind. It has been. I still see a scenario like Mata whereby that happens. In fact, as you know, I see a bigger scenario.
I know you do.
Whereby we can play maybe Friday nights all around the world on Friday in New York, Real Madrid against Celtic, for instance.
I don't mind a 39th game, Premier League, somewhere, another country. I don't want, and that's just purely personal, we disagree on this, I don't want our league of 380 games, say, having 190 of them played outside.
It wouldn't be our
England.
league.
Well, it is.
Now might just be the time for all the big clubs in Europe to say, we really can start again now. We really can have our Super League. We really can generate income from a different source of revenue going. I've always seen it.
But do you actually think that people behind the scenes at Juventus, at Bayern Munich, at Barcelona, at Real Madrid, at Manchester City,
at Juventus,
Manchester United,
all day.
Do you see all these top players? And what would you incorporate into that? Would you incorporate the best South American teams?
I think there's
the
a
best
chance
Asian
that might be
sides.
Well, Andy, the game's global now. Everything's global. The world's a smaller place. We've seen how the world can be affected in the last 2 weeks.
I hope not.
By something that is joined up. In this case, not the way we would want it to be, but it would be so easy now to do.
I know, but I don't know.
So easy to do.
I don't know.
This jumped out at me from it's written by an old mate of mine, Dave Armitage, in the Mirror. I trained with Dave Armitage.
I know Dave.
Nice big guy. He's been talking to Trevor Francis, and they've been speculating about the first British £100 million footballer. Jadon Sancho is obviously the most likely. But Trevor makes a very real point. He said, even now when I go out, I'm still introduced as the first £1 million footballer. And people are fascinated by it. He said, tell me Gareth Bale's transfer fee. What was that?
75, 80?
There is the point that he makes. 89.
89 was it? There you go.
But it is extraordinary that, isn't it?
Because first is first.
Yes.
You know, that's the thing with Trevor. He was the first.
Great milestones in football history.
Well, let me ask you, who was the first £100,000 player?
Tony Haitley. £100,000?
Was that?
Tony went for about 100,000, yeah. First £100,000 teenager, Alan Evans, Wolves to
There you
Liverpool.
go. See, you remember firsts. People remember firsts.
Do you remember 1893 when Aston Villa spent big money, £100 in fact, on Willie Groves?
He was good.
Yeah. And they list here in the Mirror all the major...
Little front man.
A little disappointed not to see your fee in here.
No, that was... See, 1.5 million doesn't really... It's not a watershed, is it?
No.
There's 100,000, there's 500,000, there's a million, I think then there's 5 million, 10 million.
1904, Alfie Common moved from Sunderland to Middlesbrough. Wow, that must have been controversial.
Alfie Common.
That for £1,000.
Trust me, moving from Sunderland to Middlesbrough would be nothing, because Alfie moved from Rangers to Celtic. If I'm not wrong there, I think. Now that was a move back then.
John Charles in 57. of course, Leeds to Juventus. Dennis Law, on the Martin Peters, first £200,000 footballer. Kevin Keegan went from Liverpool to Hamburg for 500. They're fascinating, these milestones.
They're unbelievable.
Jose Mourinho. No.
What?
No.
What?
Back page of the Mirror. The stupid one. Out on Hadley Common in Hertfordshire with 3 of his playing staff training. No. Tottenham have warned him, and he's had a reprimand from the police as well about social distancing.
Well, if they're out in the common, the players having their one exercise moment of the day, and they're sufficiently socially distanced from each other.
Sadly, they weren't.
Oh,
and of course, the leak was an Arsenal fan who saw them.
No. Well, there you go. Suspicious.
Well, he didn't exactly make himself blend in, Jose. He was in his purple tracksuit and top. That's perhaps not the best way to go about that. Premier League MPs have reared up again about furloughs. Julian Knight's drum beater on behalf of those in the House of Commons.
Do you think, sitting here, do you think had it not been for what happened with Liverpool, and there was such a massive surge of criticism levelled at Liverpool for furloughing the non-playing staff, that other Premier League clubs would very quickly have followed suit?
Well, Liverpool are now claiming that their plans were leaked by another Premier League club. Now, I don't know what they're referring to when they say that, whether that's a conversation they'd had elsewhere, or whether once again people had been listening in or hacking. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that story unfolds ultimately, but I think others would have followed.
Yeah, I do.
Thoughts and prayers with someone I did know, worked with for a long time, Jimmy Greaves.
Yes, agreed.
Who was Messi before Messi.
I love Jimmy.
Wonderful left foot. Played the day that the World Cup was won.
But not for England.
Well, follow on, complete the sentence. Played the day the World Cup was won.
Which World Cup?
In 1967, when Scotland came to Wembley and became the first team to beat England.
Jimmy played that
Jimmy played in that game. Roger Hunt was injured,
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you don't know who he is, just go and Google him.
Yes. And watch some of his stuff. This was a genuine top goal scorer.
We're all, I think we're all drinking in nostalgia at the moment.
Yes.
As we watch various programs. When I run out of content on beIN Sports, then I do start to stray a little bit, YouTube, and then enjoy. Well, the 80s was an era I loved, of course.
Yeah.
Early 90s. The Sunderland documentary I watched last night, Sunderland Till I Die. Fascinating.
Good.
Fascinating. Martin Bain, who was chief exec at the time, a fellow I think you know well, worked at Rangers.
Worked at Rangers, David Murray.
Appointed Simon Grayson to follow David Moyes, and we think Simon's the right man. We're convinced Simon's the right man.
Yes.
6 games in. Well, Simon knows it's a results business. Then appointed Chris Coleman. This is a statement by Sunderland Football Club. Chris will take us.
He left Wales to go there, Chris, did he? Or had he just left Wales?
Yeah. But Chris is the one, absolutely no question about that. He was our first choice. Well, Chris knows this is a results business,
Did you see the bestie one I told you about?
I did see the bestie one. Come back to that. There's one on Sadio Mane, which you're going to want to watch. In the documentary, he talked about what good players do. Built a hospital.
There you go.
It's brilliant, this, because he talks about growing up playing with a grapefruit. And Jurgen Klopp, the first time he saw him, he turned up with the cap and everything, and Klopp apparently thought, I really can't be doing with this. He's a rapper, not a footballer. Here we are.
He changed his mind
I don't have
quickly.
time for this, said Klopp.
Yeah.
But no, it's worth looking out for. But yeah, I did see Bestie all by myself.
Yeah.
Fantastic documentary.
Yeah, I loved it.
Fantastic documentary. And that got me to thinking, and there isn't a great deal of time to explore this now, but has the game got better down the years?
It's different, Richard, and it's always difficult when you sit where I sit and you played when I played. And it was the same by people before me who played in the 50s and 60s. You talk to them about the game, they loved it because it was pure. I think that's for want of a better word, it was pure. And there was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people there every week, crammed into these grounds. My day, they were still standing. When I started playing, grounds were packed, football was pure in a certain way.
I understand, but let me take you to the point.
But I'm saying
Is the game
But
Better now.
you always get criticised. Well, it was better in my day. No, I've loved the Premier League, the vast majority of it. I have. I've less loved the football I've watched over the last maybe 3 or 4 years than at any time.
Why?
I think we've become too statistically driven. I think that we are a slave to stats and facts. I know they're important. I know that. So I'm not sitting here saying you can't use data. It's not important. And it's almost, I talked to you about academies. We're almost producing mechanical footballers, assembly line footballers. I think we're seeing that at times. Everyone wants to try and play the same way. Anyone who doesn't play the so-called right way is accused of being a dinosaur. No. You know, football is a game that's supposed to be played in many different ways. It has many different guises. I don't think it has as many now. That's what I would say.
As we were isolating the other night, me sat at home, you here, we were in contact. We were watching football from the 80s when, I don't like to go back too far. You're right, you do leave yourself open to that criticism. But let me do so. Let me open myself. I enjoyed that period. And I saw things the other night that I'm seeing again now. I don't see too much of a difference in the game today from that period of time, other than I think there were more teams then competitive and capable of winning the title than perhaps there are now. There was a broader spread of talent. I know you've said many times down the years, every season you started playing football, whether it be at Villa, Wolves, Everton or elsewhere, you always felt you started out with a chance to win the title.
Well,
I don't think most players do now.
No, I think you're 100% right. I don't think there's anybody outside the top 6 clubs in England thinks they've got any chance. Forget Leicester, that was a one-off, the likes of which we probably won't see again. But apart from that, I don't think anyone starts the season at West Ham or Newcastle or Aston Villa. Dare I say it, even my old club, and I hate to say this, Everton, thinking we've got a chance of winning.
But those clubs you've mentioned used to.
Yes, every year.
So has the game progressed, or has it progressed for a certain few and not the majority?
Well, there's definitely a gap now.
Is it better to watch?
Well, that depends. There's a lot of people, Richard, who love to watch people in a game play 1,000 passes, have 5 or 6 shots in goal, and think they've seen a wonderful football match.
As opposed to?
Not just that though, and that's why there are differences. I'd say everybody wants to play the same. They don't really want to play the same all the time, because there is a difference between Manchester City and Liverpool, the way they play the football. The 2 best teams in the country at the
question.
moment.
If I gave you the chance right now, the same levels of fitness that you performed at, in other words, in your prime, which of those 2 clubs would you prefer to play for?
Oh, you're asking Evertonian. All right, which style of football would suit me? Would I like to be involved in?
Specific on the club for a purpose.
No, I'm on the style of football.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
If I played for Manchester City, it'd be no good. I'd be okay. But they don't do enough of what I need. Liverpool, who play the game differently, have 2 of the best servers from wide, and the 2, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson. I mean, you look at the goals they get from crosses, from putting the ball into a penalty area, which is where I want to see the football. When I was a football fan, when I am a football fan, I wasn't a player, I wanted to see chances created. I wanted to see goalkeepers make saves. I wanted to see chances missed.
So you were like Shearer, quotes, get it in, don't even look, I'll find it.
I'll find it, yeah. And that might sound archaic, but it's not. Look at Liverpool, watch the way they play. Yes, they like the football, but make no mistake about it, Richard, when they have a chance, they put it in there. And they've only got Firmino, Mane, Salah, who are basically, the tallest must be 5'10", if he's even that.
Well, we won't argue
5'11".
Firmino's a bit bigger, but anyway.
No, maybe 5'11".
I know what you're saying. He's
So,
not what you
but
would
they
call a
don't-
traditional centre forward.
No, so they don't. If somebody like a Shearer went to play for Liverpool now, he played in the Premier League, he'd get bucketfuls
Well,
of
I'm talking
goals.
about a Gray.
Well, that was a long time ago, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. That's
So you
why.
would rather, so Gray says, I'd rather play for Liverpool.
No. Grace says, I'd rather play a style of football that delivers the ball into the penalty area on a regular basis. This is what I like. Now, I know there's others who love watching Pep Guardiola's teams. That's fine, I get that. I like watching them too. Don't love it, I like it. I like watching it when they're at their very best. But sometimes I sit there and say, come on, you've had 150 passes, and I haven't seen the ball in the penalty area yet. Come on, please. Now that's just me. Now I know we have a modern generation who are not interested really in that a lot, who want to see all this beautiful passing game, but it's not what I love. It's not what I love. I want to see fast football. That's why I like Ancelotti, what he's done at Everton. He's playing what I would call fast football. He's tried to quicken Everton. He's tried to get them. You can go through the lines, if you want me to use modern terminology, but go through quicker. And that's what Ancelotti is trying to instill in Everton, I think. And I think it's made Everton better because
funnily enough,
of
that's
it.
exactly what, of course, he did at Bayern post Guardiola. That's the
right.
one major change that he made. They got the ball back to front far more quickly. Anyway, a truncated conversation, but nevertheless thoroughly enjoyable.
Well, I'm glad, because it was very difficult for me not to mention that word.
The L word.
I think I made my point.
Hope you enjoyed it. We shall be back here tomorrow, all things being equal. Although I'd warn you at some point we may have to retreat inside the apartment
getting warm.
because it's getting warm here. But another very, very pleasant morning. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you back here on beIN Sports and YouTube at the same time as tomorrow.